Okay, welcome again. Don Nickum here, SAGU student, Southern Assemblies of God University. And I'm here with Bill Turner doing an interview on leadership. How you doing, Bill?
I'm good. How's Nick?
Nick's okay. Nick's busy, but basically it's a quick interview. Try to keep it under half an hour, roughly 10 questions, all associated with leadership. What was your first leadership position?
It'll sound funny, but I got a stick over here that says Orville Davis Tire Company on it. Bolivar, Missouri. Back when my wife and I first got married, I got promoted from janitor to recap shop worker to warehouse worker to the warehouse worker, and then I got promoted from the warehouse worker to warranty representative. Big fancy term for tire adjuster. If it broke, you brought it to me, and that was the first one. And I was the one that had final say over what was and what wasn't adjustable. Things in regards to that, and that was the first thing where I had any kind of authority at all was there. That was in 73, 74, somewhere around in there.
How did that one work out for you?
It worked well until I moved to a place in Springfield where I could work 40 hours instead of 60 and make more money. So that's the reason I left. It was a father and son tire company. They had a recap shop. They had route trucks and stuff like that, but it wasn't one of the best paying jobs ever. And then I got a job in Springfield, sandblasting and painting. And for me, that was, I was on the gravy train then. And then that ended. When that ended, we had to go back to Kansas City from Bolivar because the job it wasn't there anymore. First it was there, and then the early 80s recession took it, and the company just went cuckoo. They eventually went back to work, but I was gone then.
So basically just started at the bottom, worked your way out.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a good job as far as leadership. I didn't have anything. I guess you could say it kind of depended. They put new guys with me. Can you show so-and-so how to sandblast? Can you show him how to paint? Because I knew I could paint better than anybody in the shop, so it's not a problem. Stuff like that. But that's, that was just, hands-on. This is how you do it. So
taking it to the steps.
So yeah, pretty much.
So how long have you been in leadership?
40 years or more. Over 40 years. I'm 62. I got my first job when I was 19. So that's when I was a tire adjuster. I take that back. I was 21 when I was a tire adjuster. So 41 years.
Long time.
Long time. Different. I don't know. I guess I'm not so much in leadership position now, but do some.
Well, a lot of leadership positions come with crazy challenges. Tell me about your top 5 challenges you had in leadership.
Top 5? Probably the first one was first pastorate that I took. There were a lot of older women. The church had mostly died off. There's about 40 older women, a few men and that kind of thing. We had a clothes closet and a food pantry. So that was one of the first ones. We led the church, and after a while the church started growing. Tried to get them to, get your head out of where you live. A lot of them lived away from that. So you got to think about where we're at. It's an inner city church. So we started working with the people in the inner city. Well, we went from 45, 50 to 100 pretty quick because the people in the neighborhood found out this is our church, and I don't know whether that's a big leadership thing or not, but it was like, this is where we are. This is where we need to be. These are why God's left this thing alive as long as it has, so it'll stay here. And the challenges was some of these older women My husband was a pastor. He died in 1956. But this is how you do it. And this was in the 80s. And it's like, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but things have changed since then. So she was a big challenge. Second church I was in, it seems funny, but there's always somebody in the church that knows more than you, are more spiritual than you, prays more than you, and can lead the church better than you. Those are always the challenges, and that's been everywhere I've ever been. There's been a person. First Baptist Church, there was a person. Roby, there was a person. Enon Baptist Church in Pittsville, Missouri, there was a person there. Every job I have had, driving a bus now. Okay, I run equipment since I was a kid and driving, and there are people there who don't know boo from do when it comes to operating, and they want to tell me how to do it. It's like, go lay down. So the big challenges have always been people there's always someone with that mindset. You're not doing it the way I think it needs to be done.
So the way you're doing it.
So the way I'm doing it is therefore wrong. And the challenge is to get them to say, okay, now wait a minute, let's talk about this. Let's sit and think, what is wrong? What is really wrong? Is it your perception that's wrong, or am I screwing up? And that's the hard thing to figure out. So
How would you recommend to somebody to get through challenges like that? How do you handle
first thing is don't take it personal, because sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes it's personal. That's fine. That's something you can deal with but most of the time it's not personal. It's you're doing it different than what they've done it, or somebody else that they know has done it, and because of that, it's wrong. It's perceived as wrong. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's perceived that way. Be patient with them. Talk to them. But at the same time, don't back down. When you're leading, you're the one supposed to lead. And it might come to the place where you have to stand up and say, look, you brought me here to lead. Now you're going to have to let me. And sometimes it comes to that.
Yeah, there's always somebody who's got a bigger, better idea.
And at the same time, be open for somebody that's got a bigger, better idea. Because sometimes their ideas ain't too shabby, But it's like, well, the reason we do this is because Sister Mary, whoever started this back during the Second World War for soldiers' wives. Well, it's 1995, dear. I know you're trying to minister to soldiers' wives, but you can't do it the same way you did in 42.
They're not the same kind of people.
No. And just helping people to come to terms with this is the now, this is the real.
Things that worked back then don't necessarily work now.
Exactly. One guy used to call them sacred cows. And sacred cows make good hamburger, he always said. Tear them apart and use what's the best part of it and throw the rest of it away.
Talk to me about your most rewarding leadership position.
The most rewarding has always been the pastorate. When I've been in the pastorate. The most recent was at First Baptist Church in Waynesville. Led there. The men of the church had a social club. A lot of men married Oriental wives, and the Korean Baptist Church was 100 yards out the back door. The men and the kids came to what they called the American church. The wives went to Korean church. Leading these guys to understand that it's not about social, it's about taking control of the family. Your wife cannot dictate to you, or shouldn't be dictating to you. And getting them involved in Promise Keeper movement, starting a Bible study. There's a young man came from California that had played professional baseball. We won him to Christ and then discipled him. And the leadership part of it was, okay, it's not about social, guys. We're going to break the book open and we're going to, and this is how we grow and this is how we do. And not everything changed, but a lot changed. And that was probably the most rewarding, is to now see this young man that we won to Christ has his own ministry. He's called Team Glory Sports. Uses sports as an outreach. He's probably got more degrees than I do now. I mean, he's gone to school and all that. And, but when he would come and sit and go, answer my questions, you sit and you answer the questions. Mm-hmm. Point him, come here, let me show you something. That's leadership. Let me show you something. Let me tell you something.
This is called recovery.
Yeah.
Figure it out and use
it. Yeah. This is what I found works. See if it works for you.
Advice for somebody who's looking to get into leadership. You always got people some people are looking to get into it. Some people are flat out called to it.
Yeah, and some are thrust into
it. And you don't really in leadership, but what you end up is in leadership.
Yeah, you end up being a leader. As far as advice, recognize that even though you're out front, you gotta have people behind you. Otherwise, you're a parade of one. It's the people behind you that make you a good leader. As you show them and they pick it up, that's the trick. Have a vision, recast that vision as often as you can. If you know where it's coming from, and it's right. I know we're just trying to talk about leadership, but leadership comes by listening to the Lord, and the Lord says, okay, this is where you need to be. Some of the old stuff needs to die. We need to add some new things. Not change because of change, but change because of it's necessary. Some things, and to take people in a figurative way by the hand and say, okay, grab your friend. And then that one grabs his friend and say, okay, you ready? Let's go. Just like a kindergarten teacher leading them across the playground. That's where you start. Start with that small stuff. And that'd be my advice. Start with something. Start with small. Show them this is how it can work. Let's work to get, and then make some plans, work towards those plans, get it done, and then say, that was rewarding. That was life-changing. And most generally, you won't get any arguments. And they'll say, okay, what's next? You say, okay, here's where I think the Lord is leading. Here's where we're headed.
You mentioned vision casting in leadership. That's a big thing, especially in ministry. Yeah. How hard is it to get those people to understand, okay, I have the vision of where we're going. How hard is it to get them to?
It can be real hard. It can be real hard. You look out on that proverbial playground, so to speak, and every now and then you see a teacher and she's dragging one, kicking and screaming. And sometimes that's how it goes. But at the same time, she's leading them because she knows this is going to benefit more than it is you're hollering.
You'll understand it later.
Yeah, later. Recasting the vision is continually putting forth that which you know is of God. Some guys have their own agenda. Mm-hmm. We've seen that. That's been tragically shown throughout a lot of areas. Okay, if you have your own agenda, that's different. But when you have a vision that, and sometimes it comes immediately. Sometimes it's for me, it was usually one of those aha type things. It's like, I hadn't thought about that. Let me talk to somebody. So I would go talk to, one of the things that probably struck me more, to illustrate this, one of the things that probably struck me more than anything else was a man made a statement that just kind of went click. And it was small things done with great love changed the world. It's a guy named Steve Sjogren. He's in Vineyard Ministries out in California at the time. I don't know where he's at now. But he said that, and he wasn't trying to be profound, but man, it slammed home. Small things done with great love. And for him, the small things were standing on a street corner handing out ice cold sodas, cleaning a bathroom of a business. Walk in the business and go, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm here to clean your bathroom. Show me where they're at." And they'd say, well, what's that going to do? It's not going to cost you a thing. I'm going to go clean the bathroom. Just show me where it's at. And he would say, it's just a small thing, done with love. I want nothing for it. I expect nothing of it. Hope you have a nice day. He said, no, I'd leave. And I'd come back a week later or a couple of days later, and I'd clean the bathroom again. And pretty soon somebody would ask a question. Why? And he said, when they asked the why, I'd give an answer. A small thing done with great love. And he would go on to illustrate the gospel through that. So, but folk took that vision, and that church went from 100 people to 25,000 people over a period of just a few years.
Being that example.
And one of the things that he said, if you're just here to attend and sing some songs and drop money in the plate, go to another place. Because we're going to have a work day. We're going to have a give a soda away day. We're going to have, and you better show up. Because if you don't show up, you're not a part of what we're doing.
You really don't understand.
Yeah, you don't understand what we're doing. You've got a hold of the wrong thing. And he said, that's not what we're about. That's a small thing. And he said they would go out and stand on street corners. And he said we have had some brave souls that would put a cooler around their neck, go out and stand in the middle of the intersection and knock on the window. You want diet or regular? That was their great gospel. They said that was the great gospel message. Do you want diet or do you want regular? And he said underneath the tab on a can of Coke is a perfect place to put a business card. Business card, cold can of Coke, cold can of Diet Coke. Whatever. Would you like a Diet Coke? Would you like a Coke?
Icebreaker.
Yeah. And a card. And that's it. He said, people expect that if I go out and nothing happens and I'm not successful. That's not true.
But you never know what can happen.
And that's the whole thing. And that's what he says. It's the small things done with great love. You're not responsible. First, you didn't get the love from yourself. Give away what you got.
I heard a story recently about that. It was a bunch of pastors that had gone to a big conference for pastors, and they went in, they did their first session, and then they all went into the little cafeteria area, and they seen this guy walking around, and he was bussing tables, slacks, button-up shirt, he was bussing tables. And after a while, back at the end of the second session, they were back at cafeteria, he kept watching. Hey, who's the guy bussing all the tables over there? Oh, that's the senior pastor. A 15,000 person church, and they're doing a district conference for pastors, and there's a senior pastor of that church, and he's bussing the tables.
Because his leadership said, here's this guy that knows this, we're going to put him with these guys and this guy and this guy. What have I got to do? But I go bus tables.
I'll find something.
Exactly. And it's, too often we think that leadership is prestige. And sometimes it's not.
And sometimes that's all people are looking for is that prestige.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're there for the wrong reasons.
Definitely. That happens quite a bit.
In leadership, there's a lot of times where leaders have to do assessments. Talk to me about a couple of your strengths that you found out through leadership.
Some of it had to do with being impressed. Okay, for guys coming out of the Assembly of God, it's not a big thing. You don't think about it. But I'm Southern Baptist and have been since my youth. And to talk about spiritual gifts was almost like, oh my God, a definite oh my God. But when you begin to understand that's how the church works. Otherwise, he wouldn't ask the rhetorical questions that he did in 1 Corinthians 14. Do all speak with tongues? Do all help? Do all do? And the answer to all of those questions, no. It's not all. It's not all about one person. It's recognizing that, the lady that works in the nursery with the gift of helps holding them babies so their mom and dad can be upstairs and hearing the prophecy, perhaps, for that morning, the word of God being spoken. And they hear that, and it changes the life, the family, the child's life, and everything. That woman's just as important as the man standing upstairs. People don't understand that. Southern Baptists especially. Sad to say. But one of the strengths was I began to recognize there's some things that are my responsibility because this is exactly where God gifted me. There are other things that are not because I couldn't do that if you had a gun to my head. I just can't do that. Door-to-door evangelism, not my strength. Visitation in the hospital, not my strength. But there was a fellow at First Baptist in Waynesville. The man could spend hours with the older ladies in the church, giving them, taking care of the widows and the orphans, so to speak. He had that ability and wanted to do it. And if you took it away from him or told him, you really ought to stay, it killed him.
He knew what his gift was.
Exactly. His gift was comfort. Mine happens to be teaching, discernment, and a couple others that I see. Sometimes they're blessings, sometimes they're curses. That's only in the figurative way of speaking. I mean, they're not so much that, but yeah. Strengths. One of the other things my mom said that she said, I probably should have named you Frank or Ernest. I don't know whether it's a strength or not, but I usually don't have a hard time telling you what's on my mind. And if that hurts your feelings, I'm really sorry, but
here's the way it is.
Yeah. I try to be as truthful as I can, as honest as I can. My problem, the weakness in regards to that is I get angry and take some things personal, and when I don't need to. Yeah, and I don't, because they didn't mean it that way.
No. Like you said, door-to-door evangelism, that's on my weakness side. That's
Tuesday night visitation in the Southern Baptist Church. I mean, you got to have Sunday morning, Sunday night, Tuesday night visitation, Wednesday night Bible study, Thursday night, again, perhaps another Bible study, and then church. And then you can have Friday and Saturday off. Mm-hmm. Boy, but when you realize that he put that man in the church for a particular reason, that lady for a particular reason, that person for a particular reason, and of course, in the Southern Baptist Church, tongues, oh my God, right?
It's getting better.
But in the same way, I take this, okay, mine has always been, they hear in their own language the wonderful works of God. Acts 1, Acts 1. We had a Hispanic couple that would come every Sunday, sit on the front row. Well, you don't sit on the front row in a Baptist church. That's the sinner's row. I said, leave them alone. Maybe they're sinners. They don't, leave them alone. They would come and sit every week, and I would preach. And someone said, well, wouldn't you be more comfortable? I said, no, we understand every word he says. And now to talk to them, there was no way. General conversation was not happening. But they said they understood either everything or most of what I said every Sunday. And it changed their life, our life, the thinking in the church, all because we just said, leave it alone. Leave it alone. God will work it out.
They're up here for a reason. That wasn't
exactly.
An idea.
Yeah, and part of it is to change your minds.
Mm-hmm. The story that I read about.
Get a drink.
The new senior pastor coming into a church and decided he wanted to see what the congregation was really about before he took his position, and dressed up as a homeless man.
Yeah.
Clothing, everything, climbed to a dumpster and all of this, and went out on Sunday morning and laid down on the steps to the church. Well, nobody stopped talking to him. Nobody offered him anything or anything like this. So come service time, he went into the church and walked up to the second row to sit down, and the ushers moved him to the back of the room and everything, and they did their thing and talked about, well, we finally got our new senior pastor, and they introduced him, and he got up and started walking around the aisle, and the ushers, where's he going? What's he doing? He walked up behind the pulpit, tapped on the microphone, turned around and looked at everybody and said, hello, my name's so-and-so, and as of today, I'll be your new senior pastor. And according to what I've seen so far since I've been here today, looking like I do, I'll see y'all next week at church. There'll be no church today. Have a nice day.
Well, your one thing about your leadership style will attract some and repel others. And what most people in churches don't know, there are sometimes blessed reductions as well as there are blessed additions. And that's going to happen too. You know, and recognize and getting people to understand, okay, they've been here 25 years. What, let's be honest, let's ask a question. What have they contributed? You know, and it's not so much, maybe they contributed a lot. That's wonderful. Okay, now why are they suddenly leaving?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and to lead people to understand that, God puts people where He wants them.
It very well could be time for them to learn something new that they're not going to learn
or
but they'll learn.
Or it's time for them to get off the dime and go serve. That falls into it as well. So, hope I'm answering these questions and not just talking.
I don't think there's really any right or wrong. It's just a matter of looking at leadership from different angles. I guess the only one is how hard is it for a leader to balance between those strengths and those weaknesses? I mean, obviously you're going to work in your strength.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But the societal mindset these days is like kids in school. You got all A's over here and one C. Well, you need to concentrate on this to bring it up. Don't necessarily agree with that. Work on these because they're always going to be there.
Strengths are strengths because it's something you like, it's something you're good at, it's something you have an ability for, and perhaps even a calling to. But at the same time, you can't disregard stuff that you're weak at. For me, like I said, hospital visits, shoot me. I hated getting in the car, driving to the hospital, knowing that I guess probably the thing was, I cannot alleviate suffering. And part of that is because I'm an empathetic person. Your hurt's my hurt. Man, sometimes I couldn't handle it. They hurt so bad and I couldn't do anything to alleviate that. And therefore I started suffering. And I don't want that. I didn't need that. Well, that's when we're more like Jesus than any other times when we're suffering. And it's not it was never a strength. At least I didn't see it as one. Because it was, strengths were something that I didn't think about doing. They just got done. Weaknesses were the things I really had to bear down on and make myself do. Because doing them was going to make me a better person and a better pastor and a better dad and a better husband.
And you hope that you learn something in the process to make it better.
You alluded to the preacher in his garb. One of the things that when I first started, my first pastorate was at Tabernacle Baptist Church, 29th and Holmes in Kansas City. You can look that up. That's downtown inner city. We lived at 26th in Charlotte. Charlotte's one block off of Holmes, and we lived at 26th. The church was at 29th. I could walk from the house, and did often. People in the neighborhood knew me. They knew who I was. They knew what I was about and everything, that kind of thing. We found that when I took my pastoral suit off, took the tie off, and spent my days in the office in blue jeans, t-shirts, or, at really dressed up would be slacks and a shirt. But the tie and the jacket and all that came off. People saw it, hey,
real person.
That's Bill. That's Bill. Maybe that was a strength. I don't know. Maybe it was just that I don't really necessarily. For me, a suit and tie is business. And we're not and church is not a business. There's times for it, there's times for it, and you can see me now. I mean, I'm long-haired and whiskered, and the last place I served was a group in Roby, and it was long-haired and t-shirted and the rest, and that went for 3.5 years. So
You become part of the crowd, though.
Well, it's because I am.
Yeah. But it's a natural
The
thing.
difference between an ordained man and an unordained man is that an ordained man has been recognized by a group of his peers to have a calling upon his life that God has placed, and they set him aside with the laying on of hands so that he might do that work that God has called him into and ordained him to that work. Okay, that's the only difference. Other than that, I'm just like anybody else, and so is every other ordained man. The idea that it elevates you or turns you into something, it doesn't do anything other than give you another certificate to put up on the wall if you want to put it on the wall. That's what it's for, you see. But don't get me wrong, that recognition validates who you are and allows you to understand, okay, I have been set apart for this. This is something I need to do, and it's hard to, you don't get away from it. Even though I'm not serving full-time senior pastor anymore, there are times when, I'm right down in the trenches, and it's weird, but my pastor set bus on, and not all of it, but some of it.
There are those
that are very, let's see, I don't want to use the wrong word. There are those who want me in that position. What do you think? Tell me something.
I need to hear.
Yeah,
not what I want to hear.
Exactly. Not what I want. Tell me what I need. And there's, without using names, there's a lady who's had problems with her husband, and she's come to me on different occasions, and we've talked, and I've offered counsel, and so far she's rejected my counsel. So when she came, the last time she came to talk to me and wanted to talk, I said, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to tell you. I said, I've told you what you need to do. Okay, this is my opinion. This is what I believe you need to do, and it's based on what I've understand and studied and been involved in. Okay, and if you choose to reject it, that's fine. You have that choice, but don't keep bringing it back to me because I can't fix
thing.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there have been others that have come and said, I'm having problems with a child. What would you? And caught me just like, well, that come out of left field off the shoulder and wham, right in the side of the head. Because I would have never thought out of that person. I said, well, let's sit down a minute and talk. What's going on? Caught me off guard, but let me tell you what I did with my kids. That's all I can tell you. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to make a difference.
No.
Put their mind and heart at ease, and it's like, and I walk away often shaking my head. Because I'm thinking, wait a minute, I thought I was out of this. And I've got some friends that I'll go over and they'll ask a question like what we're talking. They'll ask a question and I'll start. And they might ask one more question and it'll end. I said, well, let me tell you what the Bible said and this what this said. And watch them sit and soak that in. SpongeBob got nothing on these folk. I mean, it is, and the eyes are big and
but they're for what they need to hear.
Yeah.
Like you said, set apart.
Yeah. Leadership it involves that setting apart, recognizing that your makeup, just who you are as a person, that there has been that setting apart. Mm-hmm. You can't fight it. The young man that I talked about that was a professional ball player finally came to me and he says, how do you know if you've been called to preach? I said, the only way I can tell you is the same way that the old prophet did. There's a fire in my bones and I can't get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And he said, that's pretty much it. I said, there you go, buddy.
That's what you needed to know.
Yeah, it's just there. Mm-hmm. And there have been times still that it's like, like I said, it might be the bus barn, but then there's going to be a time when it's not going to be. So then what am I going to do?
Be something else. Those that need will be sent to you.
Yeah. or send me to them.
Well,
I hope it's still there. So.
it's still there. But, okay, well, we'll conclude this up.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Bill.
You're more welcome, Jake.
Don Nickum, Southwestern Assembly of God University student with Bill Turner for interview based on leadership.